Okay, that's exactly what I'm going to post about. The Oitzer Be'etzem is the Rebbe. The Rebbe is the Oitzer. And he continues to be Mashpia, Koiches Atzmim, to every neshama. It's strongly indicated in the Maimer. I have to work it through. This Maimer and also Membeis. And when I've thought it through and read a little bit, if I have time today, I'm leaving today, and I'll try. Then I'm going to post that. Achad Osa Yom Chayrev. It's Merumbas in the mind very strongly, though. But anyway, to look out for it. I mean, in the end, the Melech is Mashlich Chayav Mineged. That's very clear in the Maimer that at the end, the Melech gives himself Kipshuto. That's Pashat Gimel Tammuz. Kipshuto. I mean, the Rebbe spoke about it like Abba the Fidik Rebbe and his Istalkos too. So it certainly applies to the Rebbe himself. So that's Pashat Gimel Tammuz, but the Mashlich Chayav Milefonov is in addition to the Oitza that he continues to give. You want to close the door? Yeah. Shkoya. The Oitza that continues to be Mashpia in ever increasing Atzmizdike levels. The Sosum Bekomos, again, there's a lot of, it's difficult to understand what exactly is meant by this Gilui. On the one hand, it's a Gilui, and on the other hand, it's Sosum Bendelam, and fundamentally cannot be revealed. So we spoke about this on Friday and Thursday. So I'll just say it in one sentence. It's a Gilui that says, Ein Oid Milvado. It's God considering his own absolute reality. So there's a Gilui there. There's otherness. If you're talking considering, so there's something outside that which is doing the considering on some level is already, as the Maim has been stressing all along, and will even more so now on those bays, we're talking a ha'ora, a gilui, that therefore can be given over to a zulas, which is you and I, all the way down the bottom of Seder Shtalshalos, which is the whole point of it all. So we have to get something that acknowledges our metzius. So it's got to be a gilui. And where does that begin? When God considers machshavosai, my thoughts. And what's he considering? He's considering his atzmizdike being. So on the one hand, this explains that it's a gilui because there's a machshava, but what is the gilui about? What's the teichen? Atzmos, and yed mulvade, and that cannot be defined. So it's fundamentally a gilui of God that cannot be defined. Yet he's talking about it. He's considering himself. That's what the darga is there. That's what's given. It's atzmizdike. Now he's going to say now on his base, just atzmos v'gamarno. Atzmos not, because of just stam atzmos without the articulation of the kavon of the betachtonim, then nothing has gotten off the ground. There's no kavona. There's nothing. It's only Eibishter. The whole point is there's a kavona, and the kavona means there has to be a gilui, there has to be oid, there has to be ha'ora, there has to be the beginning of otherness, and then elyon, and then a tachten, and the betachtonim. So you have to get a darga. That's the sosum. That is the oitza, a darga which at once acknowledges our metzius, but conveys to our metzius eined milvado, keiches atzmim, not just the teaching, the emes, the keiches atzmim. So what I just said now, the whole world, I'm speaking that like it's a haze. What does it mean? Ois after ois after ois, but what meant this? That's what it means. And that explains Gilui and utterly Sosum. And why it must be Gilui, as he goes on to explain his base now. Why it's not Atzmos Mamish, because then they didn't there's no kavana. There has to be an articulated kavana, and the kavana means that there is something, there's a creation, this Ava, Kodesh Baruch Hu Liyislei, did a betachtonim. As we say here repeatedly, To understand anything in Chassidus, everything has to be in context. And the context has to be, there is no other context than why is this happening? What is this madrege? What is this giloi? How is it part of the nisava kodesh baruch hu liyes lo yizbarech dir b'tachon? If you have that as the context, then you'll begin to understand what's going on. Otherwise, it's just the geometry, the geography of the divine, and huh? What? Okay. So, but I'm saying at the outset this morning here is that all this points to what's that oitzer? So that's the neshama klolis, that's yechida klolis, that's the Rebbe. And he literally gives himself to each and every one of us. Hanosi hu hakoil, it's a big dik of the Rebbe in Rashi. Because this lashon is not in the Medrash, nosi hakoil. It's Moishe and Yisrael, hey Moishe, but hanosi hakoil is Rashi. And the diuk there is that Nosi means even those inyonim that are in the sea is totally beyond us. It's mamish the word. Beyond us, beyond the Talmud, we'll never grasp it because we're neshamas datzilis, neshamas the bia, not neshamas datzilis. He gives that over also in a moshel v'chida v'chulu. But the Nosi, even the inyonim which are him by Nesias, merumim, this is exactly the moshel of the Rav, which the inyonim by him are fundamentally beyond the ken of the Talmud. He gives that also over. But that's given him in a concealed way. Can't give it in an experiential way because it's not given to experience. It's in Yinatzmi. As we explained, that in the Moshel, it's like the Rav giving, the more I think about it, it does make, it would be, it's correct. That what's the Rav giving over? The way he thinks, not so much an individual seichel. He's giving over via tracht, the way he thinks, and that he can't put into individual seichel because it's lost in the seichel. It's concealed in a story, in a helem, which he chooses, that story. There is the atmizdike, not brilliant idea, but the way he conceives, like the keich hamaskil. That's the chayre, what he wants to give over. That's the hanosi akel. He wants to give over the inyanim which bim anasiyas hanosi are beyond the Talmud completely. He wants to give that over also. Why? Because be'etzem they're one. The moshel of the Baal Shem Tov. The king's son comes, and there's no tziyur, there's no gilui, but the tiny geseder, what's left there is we're one. Rawly. Its child comes back without language, without clothing, no common experience other than father and son, one Metzias. That's the Tainug at Poshut. All match, that's the Tainug. Make the list. Everything's matching up. That's the Tainug. Poshut, that's the higher darga of the Rav. That's the Hanosi HaKoil that's given over. That's the Oitzer. And another thing, since I'm leaving, next time I'm going to learn is when? Monday. This will be Erev Shvat. Posha the klotz kasha. Yeah, Posha the klotz kasha. The Gemara says, what's the oitzer of the Eibishter? The Gemara talks about the Gemara in Brachas, the Gemara in Shabbos. The Gemara says, the Akel b'dei Shemaim chutz mir Shemaim. God doesn't amass anything. He owns everything. He has everything. What's his oitzer? There's one thing he's got to get that he keeps in his treasure house. And what's that? That's our Yiras Shamayim. Yiras Hashem oitzroi, the fear of God. That's it's a pasuk. That's his treasure house. And he brings that in the Maimon, Tav Shem Beis. So the shayla is, this is completely contradicts what we're learning here. The Eibush is giving us the oitzer, and the kipshut of the oitzer is what we give him. Klotzkash, pasha the shayla. So there's different levels of answers that we could say, but based on what we learned in the end of the previous Maimon, that the Tzemach Tzedek said, that what happens, the last generation does not just get the schar of their own avodah, but invested in them is the avodah of all the previous generations, the oitzer, the Yiras Shamayim. So this is perhaps the beer here. It seems this is correct, that the oitzer the Eibishter gives us is the oitzer of the Mesiras Nefesh and the avodah of all Yidden since Avraham Avinu. Empowered to the last generation, like Nanes Agabe Yanok, like the the dwarf on the shoulders of the giant that sees further lifted because he's on the giant's shoulders. And the Rebbe gives that because he's the Nosi Kloli, Yechida Klolos of Kol HaDoros Kulam. And therefore the Rebbe, the last generation, the Mashiach Shebedoir and the Mashiach Kipshuta, gives over to every Yid. What are we invested in, you and I? Every Yid's Avodah Meshech Kol HaDoros, Mesiras Nefesh Al Kiddush Hashem, it's all given to us. So Taka, the Eibishter's Oitzer is our Yiras Shamayim, but we would never access that. It's not my Avodah. But that's what the Nasi gives. Why? Because be'etzem we're all one Yid, all one, and he's the Yechid HaKlolis, and therefore he's Megalahad. It's not magic. He's Megalahad. We're connected to every neshama of all the previous deities, and he's mashpia that because that's what he is, and he's the Yechid HaKlolis, the Nasi HaKoil of Kol HaDoros Kulam. There's a Nasi HaKoil of each generation, and the final generation is the Nasi of Kol HaDoros, the language of Kabbalah, Yechid HaKlolis, of all neshamas of all Klal Yisrael. So through the Pekidi HaKoil, that's the Rebbe says in the Maimad, it's the Pekidi HaKoil, they're the ones that give, the officers of the king, they give the Oitzer to the Melech, that's the Rebbeim, and in our case it's the Rebbe, who gives us the greatest Oitzer Mamish, and what's that invested in us is every Mesiras Nefesh every year, and that is mind-boggling to consider, that you walk around invested in you is every Jew from all generations. Can the Yetzer Hara stand up to this? Can anything in the world stand up into this? Bottle b'mitzias. Partially, because that's the atzmitic level of the neshama in the face of which the Oitzer, it's the Oitzer where the Eibush is considering an Eid Mulvadoi, right? That's that Oitzer. That's the Darga Lamaila. That's the Darga when the Neshama is Sola Mushish, and that's what's given to every Jew from every Neshama. We're all walking around with Klal Yisrael invested in us. And who invests this in, not just of today, of Kol HaDoros Kulam. And who is giving this over? The Nasi. The Nasi HaKoil, the Rebbe of our generation that gives over everything. And therefore there's no doubt, an absolute victory is assured. This is the final, deepest gilui of the Etzem and the Neshama, in the face of which there can be no opposition, and it's iskafia, and it's isapcha, and dirala yizbarach. This is so empowering. We give 5 minutes thought to this. Little, Moishe, you're walking around. Hello. Invested in you is neshamas yisol shebachal hadoros. That's the Eibishter's Oitzer, the Yiras Shamayim that God amassed generation after generation, the treasure of the Mesiras Nefesh, Al Kiddush Hashem. That's given to me. So it comes along a little Yetzer Hara with a taiva and a temptation. It's a joke. If we think about this and we access this, it goes forward. It's not even Moishe Nefesh. It's higher than Mesiras Nefesh. It's the Etzem. You did it b'tachtonim. That's what this whole Welt is, nothing else. It's spellbound from the world itself. Ayin ve'efes. You reveal the Eibishter, you did it b'tachtonim, you're everything. And so you're not the enemy, you're the Dida, Le'yis Barach. So Bekitzer, the Oitzer, that's the Rebbe. That's the Oitzer. That he gives himself and everything that comes with him, which is every year, the non neshamas, and all the extraordinary, exquisite Mesiras Nefesh.
And this is not other Boim Shnin.
What?
And this is not the union of other Boim Shnin.
No, that's the other Boim Shnin is a lower darga. That's Giluyim, Mamash Giluyim. No, this is not. This is, you got the marshal, you have it right now, you're empowered. And it's such a level, it's not given to be articulated in seichel or defined. It's an inyan atzmi, period. It's etzem and the shama, like God can't be defined. You have the Eibishter himself. And how you can only get it in the way of Helim. Stripped of Giluyim, the etzem is left. So this is not the boy mission. That's a lower darga, a necessary darga. That's giluyu. That's v'ata tetzave, that the etzem has to permeate the giluyim. We're not negating giluyim and ball it's deyas Hashem, and there'll be yediyah, each one according to their level, and then other boy mission. That's all true. That's a whole. That's the next avoid, as it were. To megala this and all the pratim of consciousness and levels v'chulu. Here he speaks about the soldier on the ground and the throes of the battle. This is a koich atzmi, which is higher than seichel and higher than appreciation, higher than experience. He's not even experiencing, he's not inspired necessarily. He's fighting in the trenches, inspired. But he plows forward and he defeats the enemy. It's in atzmi. We see this poshet in the bowels of the hell of Gaza, where these neshamas discovered. They were inspired in understanding nothing. What was Nizgalad, Etzem and the Shamayim Yid, fired away there, that even their captors and tormentors were nispal of. Here, light the candle. Derech the Fidik Rebbe Yud Bistam was in prison. But cried and told the story. In prison, he's dying to tell us over. He said, refused to be photographed. And they call it, they tell him, Rebbe, okay, they back off. He's arrested here because of this. And you back off, you walk away, let him daven. There are moments of glimpses where even the greatest clip is in this battle. We saw that in the Gaza, much more than Gibistan was here. Despite all the tragedy in the hand of Hesteru. And they're all running to the oil after they come out. Friends, this is Pashat revealed before our eyes. The Eitze, the Nasi HaKoil, the Eden are all one. And where's that address of oneness? Das is Rebbe. And the empowerment. It's playing out before our eyes, friends. It's only one thing left. You and I should do tshuva and decide once and for all, not sell ourselves short and understand what's invested in me and the keiches that I have. And if I just use it, hello, it's in my hand. Fire away! Again, the all in this yonis and all the shtusim become moot. Why was he talking to myself? Okay, so there's being masbid this now, noise base. Then the kudav base is going to be, it's not etzem mamish, if it's pure etzem, there's no dira, there's no nothing, everything is ein v'efes. It has to be a darge of a gilui. But what is that gilui saying? The gilui says, the other says, you're the only reality. That's the darge of the gilui b'tei chatzmosei. He's going to say this, loisis v'chsidis and kabbalah, barichas gedoyla, but that's by from Klali where he's going. Let's begin again. Base, yeah? Listen, they used to. What more do you want? You gotta end it now. So Vatem Fanocha. What do you want? We started starting again now. So why does he stress in the Maimer? Because when you learn the statement into Kunizoya, the Eure in Sof, Lamaila, the Ketz, the Madet in Tachlis, it doesn't mean that Darg of Eure in Sof. It means where do you see it expressed? Two different places. The greatest heights, the greatest depth. It's a beautiful statement. No, says the Frierdiker Rebbe. It's in one Darge, and yet it's two different darges to the extent yesh hefresh godel b'neihem. So it's in atzmi and it's gilui. It's hidden and it's gilui. So again, what does it mean? That the gilui is saying that you are fundamentally hidden. The gilui is saying it. So why does he stress that? For the reason we said, otherwise it's not an oitzer. We're not getting anything because it doesn't validate us. It has to be a gilui. It can't be the moed, it can't be a chelis, it can't be inyan atzmi per se. It's got to be all of that conveyed in a gilui, which means otherness, because that's the kavanas. The otherness, at the end of the day, who's that otherness? He's interested in only one, you and me. Okay, let me learn. So the reason why he stresses in the Maimer this inyan, but look, and inside the word again. And first of all, it's not that we're getting the darge in Yechelas Atzmos, as we explained in the till now. You can't speak of darges there. The possibility for everything can identify mile and mata. It's in your atzmi. So why is he saying those? Say we're getting the inyan atzmi. Gamarno? No. The fish is saying because then if we get pure atzmos, then there's no kavana. Pure atzmos is that gamarno. It's got to be really already a step into the process, which validates us, where we begin, we start there. We start, our Metzias begins where God considers himself. There's a tzir of machshava, something outside considering something within. That's already, it's all inexplicable. How does God do that? But that's the Metzias. Nisav. The starting point of the whole creation is fundamentally impossible to understand. Just like God. How could there be oir? Oir means being revealed. Revealed where? There's nothing outside of you. You're the only reality. That's the biggest chiddush. And it's inexplicable. Once that starts, the rest all makes sense. Okay, there's otherness, so there's bligvul and gvul, and the whole ishtarshalas. But the nisava beginning it's fundamentally inexplicable, can never be explained, will never be explained like God is, and that's why it's in yin sosam v'nelam. That first gilui is saying that. You are Einyan Levadoi. You still decided to create otherness. That's what considering himself means. So it's acknowledging otherness, you and I, but what's it saying? That this otherness is only because you want it, and we're conveying to the otherness the truth of who you are. That's koiches atzmiyah, given to us. But it's got to be a darga already of Gilu. It's got to be a darga who say the shtalshalis begins in the most sublime level, and that's what that the oid batzmusay, God considering himself. Are we somewhat clear? Yeah. Are we friends? Guys on the Zoom, give me a little response, a truthful one.
Yes. No.
The beauty is the whole Lubavitch brech the cup over this Maimon now. The WhatsApp's pushed it on fire. I used to read them. I got no kirch to read them anymore. It's going on for days and days, 24/7, because of different time zones. And there's two WhatsApps that I'm saying. There's one is just on the Maimer. That's all it is. Then there's a WhatsApp that's going on for I don't know how long now. Just Bechlali and Yonim. But of course the big focus is Shvat and the Maimer, so it's in both places. And they're the big names, the Ashpiyim. I no doubt there was a lot of nachas from this, and that's the bottom line. There was never such a koch ever in the Rebbe's Maimor like now. Never. Never. Not in quantity, certainly, numbers of Bachrim and Yingalait and Shluchim and Stam Chsidim, and not in terms of the quality, the kochsach and the depth of it and the biyurim, and never. This is the oitzer being used. The oitzer is being actually used. Der begesagte Maimer and this liegt vermacht behalten. It's being used, taking out and firing away. Imploding Golus, transforming it. So why So why does he say that the fish is an egila taken klal is saying, move my lula? Because why does he emphasize that it's two dargis? Not the etzem, because this is neged to the whole point of the mind. But why does the Fit bring this whole statement of the Zoya? To explain the Eitzid above. This is given to the soldiers through the officers in order to effect the victory over the opposition. So if this is the treasure that we need to use, you cannot say, if you're giving us the darga of Yechelis at that level, there's no menagid, there's no me, there's nothing. There's no nisavis, no dirib tachtonim there. In the possibility for things. It's got to be after you've articulated already what you want, which is me and you. There's no mitzias of the world. I feel like in my eitzah at Atomon. Not even like a hidden treasure, meaning it's there in some subtle hidden way. That's, I think, what he means. It's there in some subtle hidden way. Not even that. Yeah, he does mean that. And it mitzad the darg of Yechelis, it certainly cannot be the level of oitzer that's given. Okay, no, clearer. Yechelis is not an oitzer atom, because oitzer atom, hidden treasure, means that one day it'll have some use for something. Yechelis is beyond use for something one day, waiting, and certainly not actually being used. That's what he means, and certainly not an oitzer b'peil. He stores his oitzer for something. There's no something. So the darg of Yechelis, it can't be the oitzer. It doesn't validate you and I, because at the level of Yechelis, God has not articulated the rot, articulated. In Etzem, it's all there. But he didn't articulate the rotzen for Nisava Dirib B'Tachtonim, which validates and creates us with that will. It's not there yet. It's possibilities. So if we're given that, there's no world to engage. Silence, come on. And for sure, the madrege v'chelis is not the level of oitzer that's actually given to the soldier who's in the middle of a battle. V'hainu, poshet the verte, he says now. She'en kam b'tzi sef shalitna. At the level of Yechelis, everything is possible, but there's nothing. It's all just him. There's nothing to give that the soldier can use. But they have to say, that what level is being given us? A level of mitzias. Because Dirib means there's a mitzias you're going to transform. So we got to get a dargil mile that says there's a mitzias. Now we got something to work with. You say the mized, it spells it out even more so, since the whole point of the Eitzid is to carry out the will out of your move and shemud. Let's zero in on what is this milchama? What does it mean? This is something the king is saying. We got to have victory. According from the Rebbe, to reveal the king, to realize the king's will and desire, and to bring about the victory. So the victory over whom? Over a menagid. So it's got to be dealing with. It's got to be a dagger that acknowledges there's a menagid of whom we have to be victorious. So what is his will? There should be a victory. Victory over whom? There is a menagid who holds back, who is preventing. Speaking about victory. He's quoting if you get but the Belay Menagid, the thing, yeah. Belay Menagid in the Shaykhin in Tzachim Klala. You can't speak about victory, there's not an enemy. When Mani Machutz Chefsev, he just conducts himself as he wants, then there's no union of Nitzochen. You want something, but there's opposition. Then you emerges and you defeat him. So since we're talking about the soldier getting that to affect Nitzochen, it means there's a menagid. Lagabe Yechelis is not menagid. Lagabe Eir, there's a menagid. As soon as you say other, there's another other. I'll be clear? Okay. Let's finish a bit further. So when there's a menagid, that arouses to squander all the oiteres of the king casts his life before him, and he stands in the throes of the battle himself. Like he says in Perek Yud Aleph of the Maimer. The Hain was just the line. This is not just for this battle is not just for the benefit of the state and the citizens, but we'll continue tomorrow from Dallas and Be'ezer Hashem, and we'll see each other on Zoom.